Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about one of the most nostalgic, most iconic games that somehow keeps finding new life no matter how much time passes, Plants vs. Zombies Replanted. And specifically, the brand new update, version 1.2. Yeah, the one that's been making a bunch of noise across the community. This update dropped recently, and it's honestly one of the biggest so far in terms of small but meaningful fixes, polish, and overall player experience. So, if you've been playing Replanted since launch, or maybe took a break because of some of the bugs or weird glitches, you might actually want to check this one out. There's a ton to unpack, and I've been testing this update for a while now, just to see what's changed, what's been improved, and if it really feels smoother than before. Spoiler alert, it kind of does. First off, I think everyone can agree that Replanted launched in a pretty solid state overall. It brought back that classic charm of the original 2009 game, but with modern visuals and smoother mechanics. Still, it wasn't perfect. There were a bunch of tiny bugs and inconsistencies that made things feel slightly off, especially for those of us who've memorized how everything is supposed to behave in the old game. Well, this new update focuses exactly on those details, which is honestly what makes it feel so satisfying if you're a longtime fan. One of the first things you'll probably notice if you're replaying the boss fight is that Dr. Zomboss finally has a health bar now. Yeah, that's right, no more just guessing how close he is to going down. You can actually track his health visually, and it's such a simple addition but makes a huge difference. It gives you that feeling of progress during the fight, instead of blindly tossing plants at him and hoping you're doing enough damage. It's kind of crazy that it wasn't there at launch, but now that it is, it makes the boss fight feel a lot more complete. And speaking of visual details, this update goes pretty heavy on fixing the art and animation quirks that people kept pointing out. Remember how the split pea used to fire only from one head? That's fixed now. It actually uses both like it's supposed to. The pumpkin, which protects your plants, finally shows damage correctly instead of looking weirdly perfect even after taking hits. Roof cleaners were randomly flying off when you started the level. That's gone. And if you're one of those people who notices everything, they even tweaked the Disco Zombie's hair so it looks right when he loses his head, and the magnet shroom now layers correctly when it's in front of other plants. Another one I noticed is that the twin sunflower's face looks more natural now. It's not this weirdly large floating thing like before, it just feels right. These might sound like tiny fixes, but when you see them in motion, it really adds up. It's like 100 micro improvements that together make the game look closer to what fans always imagined a proper remake should feel like. Now, the versus mode got some love too. If you've been playing that, you'll remember how inconsistent zombie spawns could be. Sometimes you'd select a jack-in-the-box or catapult zombie, and nothing would happen. They just wouldn't appear. Same story with the newspaper zombie, which was kind of disappointing since that's one of the funniest ones to use. But in this update, all of that's fixed. They actually spawn properly now, which completely changes how matches play out. It's smoother, and the pacing feels balanced again. They also fixed an issue where the sun and brains could block placements, so you don't have to fight with the interface anymore just to put a zombie down. And flower pots and planters, you can't select them in versus anymore, which makes sense because they never really fit that mode anyway. The overall gameplay quality of life changes are actually what I think people will appreciate the most. Like, now you can cancel a seed placement directly from the selector, instead of being forced to drop it or wait it out. That's the kind of small thing that just makes the whole experience less clunky. Another fix that made me smile: extra lawnmowers no longer spawn in Vasebreaker. I don't know if you ever ran into that, but it used to look ridiculous having a bunch of them cluttering the lanes when they weren't supposed to be there. Gone now, thankfully. The ice trap position bug with bungee zombies and gargantuars has also been fixed, so you won't see those enemies randomly freeze or glitch out mid-attack. And if you play co-op mode, there was this really annoying issue where both players could grab the same seed packet at the same time. That's been addressed too. Only one player can take it now, just like it should be, and it keeps things fair and synchronized. The audio updates might actually be my favorite part of this patch because they fix something that's been bothering me since day one. Turbo speed no longer speeds up the soundtrack. You know that weird chipmunk effect where everything sounded faster than normal when you sped up the gameplay? Yeah, gone. The music stays consistent now, so it feels natural and way more like the original game's pacing. The shop music also now triggers correctly, so Crazy Dave's place finally has the right vibe again. And when you pause the game, the music actually pauses too, which should have been a given, but hey, better late than never. They also cleaned up sound effects, so when you try to play something in the wrong spot in versus mode, it now plays the correct sound to let you know. Doom Shroom and jalapeno explosions now make the proper noise when they destroy tombstones, which is another one of those subtle touches that fans instantly notice. It's like they really went back through every sound cue and made sure it matched the original intent. For people using the high contrast accessibility setting, there were a few issues with how some assets displayed or overlapped, and this update cleaned up a lot of that too. The UI just looks cleaner in general. Things line up properly, icons don't float off the screen, and control scheme changes no longer mess with the layout. It's not flashy stuff, but it's the kind of polish that shows they're listening to player feedback. And just for context, this patch went live on Steam first, officially around October 23rd, 2025. It's the same version across all PC releases. They've said that the console update is coming soon, so if you're on Switch or the upcoming Switch 2, you'll get it eventually. It's just not out yet. EA and PopCap already confirmed that 1.2.1 is in the works, so this isn't the end of support. They're definitely planning to keep improving things for a while, which is honestly great to hear. Now, something interesting about Replanted in general. There were a bunch of rumors floating around when it launched that some of the art might have been made using AI. PopCap actually came out and stated that no generative AI was used anywhere in the game. They've been very direct about that, saying all of it was done by human artists. I think that was important to clear up because people were pretty skeptical at first, but the statement kind of put that to rest. Still, not everything's perfect yet. Even after this update, players have been talking about a few lingering issues, like how the music doesn't quite have the same dynamic behavior as the 2009 version. In the original game, the soundtrack would adapt and change intensity depending on what was happening. Waves of zombies, night levels, boss fights. And Replanted system is a bit more static. It's not broken, but it's one of those things that longtime fans really feel, especially since the music was such a big part of the original's charm. Hopefully that's something they revisit in a future patch. The community feedback overall, though, has shifted from frustration to cautious optimism. At launch, a lot of people were like, it looks great, but it doesn't feel right. With each patch, that feeling's fading. The controls feel smoother now, the visuals more faithful, and the audio less jarring. It's still a remake, not a replacement for the classic, but you can tell they're trying to make it worthy of that legacy. If you're planning to hop back in after the update, here's what I'd recommend checking right away. Head into the boss level and pay attention to that new health bar for Dr. Zomboss. It's surprisingly satisfying to watch. Then load up a quick versus match and test out those zombie spawns, especially Jack-in-the-Box and Catapult zombies. They should appear and work as expected now. If you play Vasebreaker, just take a second to notice how clean the lanes look without extra lawnmowers hanging around. And if you've got a friend for co-op, test the seed selection. See how only one player can pick a seed now. It's way more stable. What's kind of cool about this update is that it feels less like a patch and more like the developers threw a checklist of community complaints and just started crossing them off one by one. You can tell they're paying attention. The fact that they even fix small stuff like audio cues, plant animations, and visual layering shows they care about the presentation as much as gameplay. That's the kind of care that keeps a game alive longer than expected. And it's funny because Plants vs. Zombies has always been one of those games that refuses to die. You can release new versions, remasters, mobile spin-offs. It doesn't matter, people always come back to the original concept because it's just that timeless.